Welcome to the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast, the show where brilliant professionals share how to sharpen the universal skills required to flourish at work. Enjoy more career fun, wins, meaning, and money with your host, Pete Makaitis.
Hello, and thanks so much for joining us here for episode 309 with Karlo Siriban and Ann Donovan, two PwC employees who each bring their own perspective on burnout. Karlo shares his own story and what he did about it, and Ann shares the perspective of the whole broader firm with PwC and how they rolled out a flexibility initiative with smashing results. So you'll learn 1, key signs that burnout is looming near, 2, how to talk to your boss about your burnout, and 3, how PwC rolled out their flexibility initiative to see their retention rates soar. So if you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, it's over at awesomeatyourjob.com/ep309. Now, here are the stories of these two guests. We got Karlo Siriban, who transforms businesses. He understands companies' missions and develops strategies to achieve then frameworks to execute their vision successfully. He's a strategic, creative thinker, not afraid to challenge the status quo to achieve more effective and efficient results. And Ann Donovan is the U.S. People Innovation Leader at PwC. She's responsible for strategy and innovation around culture change. She has a strong background in operational effectiveness and in engaging and supporting the firm and its people in leading positive change, including a variety of initiatives related to the work environment, workforce demographics, and business model change. So thanks to Karlo and Ann for sharing some time with us, and thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsor to check out is Harvard Business Review. This brilliant magazine, published at hbr.org, is the leading destination for smart management thinking. Fun fact, HBR has been mentioned in 108 episodes of the show. That's because HBR has great stuff that comes up often. They've got explainer videos, podcasts, real-world case studies, and much more. I think of HBR each night that I put on my special orange glasses. Their article, Will Blue Light Glasses Improve Your Sleep?, revealed that those who wore them reported better sleep and a 7% improvement in work performance as compared to those who wore the sham glasses. So I cite HBR anytime anyone tells me that I look silly wearing them. Now, much of HBR's content is available for free when you sign up at their site. Subscriptions that get you unlimited content cost $10 a month. If you visit hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME, you can save 10% off of that subscription. Again, to save 10% off of your HBR subscription, go to www.hbr.org/subscriptions and enter the promo code AWESOME. And big thanks to our sponsor, Acorns. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing for your future. You don't need a lot of money or expertise to invest with Acorns. In fact, you can get started with just your spare change. Acorns recommends an expert-built portfolio that fits you and your money goals, then automatically invests your money for you. NerdWallet.com, whom I love on these sorts of matters, gives Acorns a whopping 4.7 stars and says, quote, if you want to make the most of your spare change, there's no better place to do that than Acorns. Head to acorns.com/awesome or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. And we got a legal disclaimer here. It may not be representative of all clients. Tier 1 compensation provided. Compensation provides an incentive to positively promote Acorns. View important disclosures at acorns.com/awesome. Investing involves risk, including the loss of principal. Please consider your objectives, risk tolerance, and Acorns' fees before investing. Acorns Advisors LLC, Acorns, is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are provided to clients of Acorns by Acorns Securities LLC, member FINRA/SIPC. For more information, visit acorns.com. Here are Karlo and Ann. Karlo and Ann, thanks so much for joining us here on the How to Be Awesome at Your Job podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Oh, well, I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. A little different, but different good. So first, Karlo, I want to hear, where are we with the Hamilton audition process? What's the tale here?
So, do you want the whole background of it?
I'd like to hear, I know you're into music. And so how did you say, you know what, this is a thing I'm going to go for?
Yeah. So, I've always been into performance, particularly in stage musicals and singing. And I used to do it all throughout my schooling, right? From elementary school all the way through college. And then when I started work, it all just stopped, right? Work was my number one goal, and wanting to do well, was what I wanted to do. And I found myself, just naturally wanting to go back into performing. And Hamilton, this was, I think, like 2.5, 3 years ago. Hamilton was just becoming big in New York, and they were having open casting calls. And unfortunately, I travel for work Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday every week. So I couldn't go to the open calls. And my fiance my now fiance luckily saw some fine print at the bottom that said, if you can't make it, please send in a video audition.
Okay.
And I was very hesitant to. I didn't want to, but she pushed me to do it. And my video was sitting out there for a couple months. And after about 3-4 months, I got a call that they wanted me to attend some callback auditions. And about 12 auditions later, I was at the final callback for Hamilton.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, they got to do something to justify that high ticket price. Yeah. That's good. The excellence that goes into it. Oh, 12. Wow. Okay. And what happened after the 12?
After the 12, unfortunately, my journey ended there. I'm still in contact with some of the casting agents there. But for the past year, I've really been focusing on my career and getting a promotion. That was my goal this year, which fortunately I've gotten. And now that I've achieved that, I'm going to be going back into auditioning for shows, not just Hamilton, but off Broadway and Broadway shows. Luckily, I'm based in New York, so makes it a little easier.
That's cool. Well, so talking about career, could you orient us a little bit to PwC and your role within it?
Yep. So PwC, Big Four public accounting firm, right? We structure ourselves within 3 lines of service. Assurance, which offers your basic accounting services. You have tax, and you have advisory, which covers consulting. I work in our advisory line of service, and I'm an advisory consultant, and I focus on large scale business transformation.
Cool. All right. So, well, I worked in strategy consulting at Bain. So you say you travel a lot, you're on the client site, and you're meeting with executives and such, and plenty of slides, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
You know it well.
Okay, so I see the picture there. And so then I want to hear the story of, you noticed you were starting to feel kind of burnt out. Can you share with us what was going on and what were sort of the indicators like, something needs to change here?
Yeah. So this was about 3 years ago. Just the general traveling every week, it started to take a toll on me, right? Waking up on Monday mornings to go catch a plane wasn't as enticing anymore. I was having trouble focusing at work. And then even outside of work, in my personal life, I found myself, not as willing to go try new things, willing to go out with friends and family. And I realized something was wrong. And I didn't know what it was, right? I think most people, when you hit that point, you sort of think, what are the stressful things in my life? And for me, that was work. And I realized, here's my burnout. And something I don't think a lot of people realize is, there may be things stressing you out, but sometimes adding things to your life can help alleviate that burnout.
Yeah.
Right. For a lot of people, and I think this is said very often, is, go wake up in the morning and go exercise. That can really help you gain more energy and more happiness throughout the day. And I tried that for a little bit, wasn't working. And I realized, what makes me happy, right? What is it? And it was music. So I turned back to music, and it started with joining an a cappella group and, just practicing and playing music in my house, finding time to play music at my apartment and at some pubs around New York City. And slowly that just added up to the Hamilton audition and getting involved in more and bigger things. But I found myself, having added that to my life, it was giving me more energy within work, and it was helping me focus, and it was just keeping me happy and keeping me satisfied, keeping my whole self satisfied.
That is an awesome insight, because when you're in that mode, that zone of burnout, overwhelm, there's too much. It's sort of like the thought of taking on an additional thing is like, are you crazy? I'm just trying to keep it together right now. I can't imagine adding something. And you're saying, no. Adding something, in fact, is an improvement as opposed to more overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think it's because when you add something that you're passionate about, you'll naturally find time to make it happen, right? And that means saying no to things, right? And managing your time a little more effectively just by the nature of wanting to do something you're passionate about.
That's cool. And I want to hear about the part in which you shared this with some folks at PwC. Like, I imagine that could be a little nerve-wracking in terms of saying, hey, I'm feeling burnt out. You're just like, are they going to think I'm weak, or you're not up to the high standards of performance, or not an achiever, high potential? Like what was that going on inside your head, and how did you have that conversation?
Yeah, I think that's a very natural thought to have. And you described it perfectly. Just going, the way PwC is structured, it's a partnership structure. And, the partner is the be all end all to your group and feels like your career sometimes. And I was thinking to myself, I need to make this, I need to have protected time for myself to be able to do this, to be able to pursue this, because traveling every week and working, 40 to 60, however many hours a week, it becomes a lot. And my partner, very high performing, very focused on results, right? And my career up until that point, I had also been focused on that. I had been very aligned with, the firm first and work first and wanting to be a high performer. So I thought that my idea of making time for myself wouldn't gel with what I thought was the firm's idea of what an employee should be. So I had spent time talking to a coach during one of our leadership conferences, talking to a coach about how I structure this and how I can present this. And, a week afterwards, after some intense structuring sessions and messaging sessions, I went up to my partner and talked to him about it, expecting the worst. And it ended up being extremely easy. He was extremely supportive of what it is I wanted to do and the passion I had. And I think what helped that conversation was the fact that he knew I was devoted and dedicated to work and still performing at a high level. And he also knew how passionate I was about music and about singing and about performing. So he saw that as a way for me to, sort of flex my creative muscle and flex my professional muscle. And I think the coaching that he received and the coaching that I received, it's just there's this culture of, everybody's a person. Our number one piece of capital, our number one investment at the firm is people, right? And if you don't keep your people happy, if you don't keep your people trained, if you don't keep your people whole, then, what good is having them at a firm like this at PwC?
Certainly. So I'm intrigued. So this coach, that was provided by PwC?
Yes, my coach was provided by PwC. So when you make senior associate, so this is about 3-4 years into your career, you're sent to a leadership conference to sort of develop, it's called Discover, and it's to develop yourself, to discover within you what drives you, what motivates you, why are you here, and what best parts about you can you bring back to your professional life and to your personal life to improve everything. And in that session, it's about a week long. They assign everyone a career coach to help talk to you about those topics. And your career coaches, most of them, I believe, are non-PwCers, if not all of them are non-PwCers. And you can keep me honest on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. And they have a very objective point of view in how you can develop yourself, which I think is refreshing that the firm would do that.
Absolutely. Well, I've done some coaching and I would love to be participating in that. That sounds really cool. And so were there some follow-ups then, or it all happened within the context of that one event?
So that one event is where that idea blossomed. Towards the end of that week, I had a formal discussion with my coach, and probably 4 weeks afterwards, there were follow-up sessions where we just spoke to each other over the phone, over Facebook, over text, to help me build up the courage to actually have that conversation.
That's good. Now, you said you worked a lot on the structuring and messaging. And so were there any choice words, phrases, sentences that you thought, oh, yeah, that's perfect, I've got to make sure to say that, and you thought that they landed outstandingly when you had that conversation with the partner?
Yeah, actually, in forming my thoughts and my message, initially I had completely neglected to address the fact that I still wanted to be at the firm and I still wanted to be a high performer. So initially it was all about, I need to go into music and I need to spend my time making music. And he helped me form it in such a way that, I do want to make music, but it doesn't mean I want to leave this behind. It doesn't mean that you should expect less from me. In fact, you should expect the same from me. And this will help me focus and help me deliver for you and for the firm.
Oh, that is a nice turn of a phrase. You should not expect less from me. And in a way that's kind of inspiring on multiple levels in terms of, one, you're making a commitment. And so you want to rise up and live up to it. And two, it's like, oh, good. Karlo's great, but hey, I guess not everyone can be the hardcore rock star all-star. So I guess I'll have to put him in the sort of maintenance mode, as opposed to gunning for it mode. So that's really cool. And then, so you had the conversation, it went super well. And any kind of pro tips when it comes to if others are feeling the burnout kind of beginning to settle in, how should they go about doing some reflection or engaging in that conversation?
I think everyone should take some time to slow down first, right? When people are approaching burnout mode, it's often when they're very stressed. And when you're stressed, you get into this panic mode and you need things to happen fast and you want things to happen fast. So when that happens, you have a tendency to take missteps, right? Or to make decisions rashly. And I think when that happens, it's important to take some time to breathe. Mm-hmm. And to, like you said, reflect on everything about your life, not just work, but, home and your friends and your community and your spirituality. Reflect on all of that and understand where your life stands in all of those places. And once you have that view, then try to build a plan about how you try to improve it. Right. So it's all just take that breath.
That is good. Yes. And when it comes to the fear, I guess, bosses come in all shapes and sizes and varying levels of receptiveness to such a conversation. So any thoughts in terms of, that was a great sentence in terms of don't expect less from me, but any other thoughts to address the fear? Like, I can't tell my boss that. Ugh.
That's a tough question because you're right. Every boss is different. I think if you build an open, honest relation, if you're lucky enough to be able to build an open, honest relationship with your boss, that conversation will always be easier in real life than it is in your head. If you have a challenging boss or if you have a challenging work environment, regardless, I think it's important to be open and honest with yourself first, right? And to assess how your view of what will make you happy in the future fits in with your career.
Mm-hmm. And Pete, can I add something here?
Yeah.
I just can't help myself. What I always advise our staff is if they don't step up to ask for what they want, the end result is they're going to quit the firm.
Yeah.
So they'll go along and keep doing what they're being asked to do and do it really, really well and get into burnout mode. And then the end result is they quit the firm. And then the firm ends up being the loser. And I actually believe in most cases, the staff ends up being the loser too, because they end up quitting the firm at the wrong time. Because I do believe that most people end up quitting the firm. We don't have a partnership that has thousands and thousands and thousands of partners, right? So ultimately, we know people will end up leaving the firm. But you want to leave the firm, and I tell staff this, including my family who are staff, you want to leave the firm at the right time, when it's the right time and you have the right job. So if you leave the firm at the wrong time, you're the loser. So if you don't ask for what you want and get the work environment that you need, then you're going to end up leaving at the wrong time. So there is absolutely no harm in asking for what you want. No harm at all. Mm-hmm. You might get a no, but probably you're not going to. And so, but if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
Right.
Yeah. So I say this every single time I sit in front of anyone who will listen to me. You must ask the question. You must ask for what you want. And because probably what you're asking for is absolutely not unreasonable. And so you've got to ask for it, and you've got to create the work environment that you need to make your life happy. And it will more than likely be accommodated.
Yeah, that's extremely true. What you said, the worst that happens is they say no. And what happens there is now your want and your passion is out there, and people are thinking about it and people have talked about it, rather than you're in the status quo and nothing changes.
And certainly. And you have some more clarity for your own decision making. It's like, okay, well, I need this and I can't get it. So maybe I should put a little more effort towards looking elsewhere now.
That's exactly right. But at least you know, as opposed to making up in your head what the answer is going to be.
That's great. Well, Karlo, can you give us the lay of the land now in terms of your burnout-ness, in terms of, the Hamilton audition has come and gone, but there'll be new opportunities. And how's your day-to-day in terms of, energy and stress and motivation?
Oh, it's, I've become much better at identifying when I'm getting close to burnout. I'm happy to say in the past 2 years, I haven't approached burnout at all. And also just having put out, wanting to perform out there. I've been more involved in internal PwC initiatives for performance. For example, this summer, PwC has what they call a promotion day, where everybody who's getting promoted gets promoted at the same time. And in New York, they throw a large event, and I'm leading a band of about 12 of us, and we're playing a 45-minute set for all our colleagues in New York.
Oh, that's fun. That's really cool. And can you unpack a little bit of what are some of the early warning signs? Like before full burnout is upon you, what are the little indicators like, getting kind of closer? What is that for you internally?
For me, it's if I find myself waking up later and later.
Okay. Oh, that's very specific. Thank you.
Yeah, very specific. Yeah.
Cool. Any other indicators?
It's waking up later. It's, I find myself being unable to focus at work, right? Just little things, right? If I have usually I'm pretty good about if I have a 5-minute task, that's something that I can complete right away. I take that time out of my day. If I find myself those tasks are taking, longer, I push them off further and further, then I find myself, I need to reassess what's happening in my life and refocus.
Oh, that's good. Cool. Well, so awesome success story. So glad to hear it, that you came to the brink and came back, and you're wiser for having done so and have a more fun work and life situation going on there. So, Anne, could you maybe broaden the scope of the conversation a little bit, sort of beyond Karlo's story? You've got a full-blown flexibility initiative. What's the story with that at PwC?
Yeah, we are in year 6 of that initiative. I will tell you that 7 years ago, we could not spell the word flexibility at PwC. And we did some work, did lots of focus groups, kind of traveled around, actually did a lot of work studying our millennial population, and did some actually pretty scientific work, taking a look at what our millennials wanted versus our Gen Xers, and got some pretty good data around the kind of top 3 things our millennials wanted, and got some pretty solid information that, although, they certainly wanted to be paid well and, wanted stuff that the rest of us wanted, flexibility was in the top 3 things that millennials wanted out of the workplace.
And so what are the other 2 things, and how did that compare to the other generations?
Yep. So top 3 things millennials wanted out of the workplace based on our study: flexibility, appreciation and support from their supervisors, and teamwork. They wanted to work on teams that they felt worked well together. And so it was really about the work environment for millennials. For Gen X, it was about having control over their work, working on good stuff, so really good kind of developmental stuff, and pay. And so for Gen X, it was about the real kind of traditional stuff that we had set up the work environment around, the traditional work environment, which was like, we're going to pay you well, and you've got a lot of autonomy, and we're going to give you good stuff. And then millennials come into the workforce, and they're like, well, we want it to feel good, and we want you to appreciate us, and we want flexibility. And those 2 things there was a big gap between those 2 things. Understood. And so we had this data and said, whoa, we got to change the work environment, because we had autonomy, we had good pay, we still have good pay, but we had this setup that was appealing to the prior generation. And we had this entire set of workers who said, but we want it to feel good. And so we shifted the entire environment.
All right. So then what are some of the prongs or components of the flexibility initiative?
Well, we started our work. We started at the top, got our partners all understanding the business case for it, all understanding that if we wanted to keep this entire new generation of worker, we had to really completely turn the environment on its head. It all was based on trust. First set of rules was you didn't have to earn flexibility. You walked in the door earning flexibility. Everyone is trusted with the work that they're set out to do. You don't have to have FaceTime to earn your stripes. We've got all the technology in the world. You can do it, sort of whenever, wherever, however. And I say however, we have all our standards, et cetera. But what I mean is you don't have to sit next to the guy to get your work done. Now, that doesn't mean that every single day we've got people working all over wherever they want. But it means that in general, if you've got to leave tomorrow at 3:00, and our people work hard, but if you got to go leave at 3:00 and you're going to come back online at 7:00 to make your life work. And by the way, making your life work doesn't mean you have to have a doctor's appointment. It means I'm going to go play softball.
Yeah.
And we were very careful about that, Pete, because it doesn't have to be an emergency. It doesn't also have to be childcare. It doesn't have to be stuff that's another job. That's another thing to do. It can be because I want to do this thing that's fun. I want to go audition. And we were very careful to make sure that people understood that. It's because you want to have life. And we were very explicit about that. And we just started talking about it. And we started making the leaders and the partners and the managers understand that was how it was going to be from here on out. And it really did take us 3, 4, 5 years to get the culture sort of inculcated with these messages. But we've done it. And I will tell you, flexibility is on every single person's lips in the firm. And you do not have to ask for it. You do not have to apply for it. You don't have to plan for it. It's just there. I work from home. I don't hide it. My dog barks in the background. I don't care. It's where I am. I get on video. I've got bed hair. It doesn't matter. It's just the way it is. And I'm so, so proud of it. It's just fantastic because it's who we are. We trust each other and we don't have to slap on a uniform to get the job done.
That's really cool. And I'm curious to hear during that kind of transition time, where there is some key kind of rocky moments or obstacles or leaders who weren't on board or abusers of flexibility. How did that emerge?
Actually, we'd had less abusers than we had leaders who weren't on board. We definitely had, guys and gals who took a long time to come around. But that's just, that's the way life is. Change is hard. And it just it really took our leaders at the top. Our senior partner was all about it. And he pushed us hard to, he made every day a flex day. We actually changed our time reporting system that you didn't have to report time every day. And he pushed us hard to really, change processes and procedures and to just push the firm to make things happen. And eventually, and I suppose there's some pockets out there where we've still got holdouts, but they're pretty few and far between. And I will tell you, we have not had abusers. And I now speak to in front of groups frequently, and I speak to clients who are interested in what we've done, and we get asked about what policies we put in place and, what are the written rules. And I'll tell you, we were lucky. We did not put policies in place. We did not put written rules in place. Like I said, you don't have to apply for anything. It's all based on trust. Now, we are lucky, Pete. We don't, these are all salaried employees, so we don't have a lot of wage and hour laws and things like that. And we don't have union workers because we're a salaried group of people. So we didn't have a lot of those kinds of things to worry about in our work environment. But we really, we didn't deal with a lot of rules. We left people up to their own devices, and we let groups of people out there on client engagements make their own rules and make it work for themselves and just hit their own deadlines. And it magically worked very, very well. And Karlo, I will ask you to hold me accountable if that was not true on the ground in the field.
No, I think definitely the adoption took a while. You were absolutely spot on. But yeah, at this point, you're right. It is on everybody's lips. It's on everybody's mind, and it holds true.
And I want to hear a little bit more about, so previously there was a policy, a rule to report time every day. What's the new situation with regard to time reporting?
The new situation is you report your time in a week. So as long as, if you're a 40-hour worker, and most of us obviously report way more than 40 hours, you just have to cover your 40 hours sometime over the week. So if you happen to cover those 40 hours in a 2-day time frame, the other 3 days don't have to show the 40 hours. So in other words, you can flex your time however it flexes for you. And it used to be that, you had to show how you covered those hours in 5 days' time, so that you had to account for where you were. And now it just doesn't matter. It's just flexibility.
Oh, that's great. And you said many are, reporting more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
I know. Well, hey, accounting, right? Folks can get fixated on numbers.
Yes.
And so is there a sense, and maybe either of you can tackle this one, in terms of a number of hours that is good, or, too few versus too many, or is just kind of like, hey, it's different every week and we're all good with that?
It is different every week. And, in general, I would say most of our employees work more than 40 hours a week. It's just how we run. But, if you've got weeks that aren't as busy, certainly we want you to work 40 hours. And that's, we want people to take advantage of times that aren't as busy, and knowing that, if you're working on a deal and you're in advisory, or if it's busy season and you're in audit or tax, or assurance or tax, you're certainly going to work more than that. So, it's kind of an up and down business.
Oh, sure. And so for the non-intense weeks, are you still shooting for a 40-hour minimum, or it's kind of like, hey, last week was 70, so this week 20 is cool?
No, I think we in general shoot for the 40.
Okay, gotcha. I'm with you there. And now I'm curious to hear any other kind of pro tips or best practices if, you say your clients are starting to ask, hey, how'd you pull this off, in terms of having success with this kind of a shift or intervention?
Well, I just think that I have not met a group of workers, and I've not met a client group that was not interested in this topic. So I think I say this to these groups: if you can figure out a way to bring this to your organization, it's really important. And it is free to offer your group, your employees. So again, if you can bring this into your workplace, and you've got the kind of workforce that makes it easy, again, not dealing with hourly employees or employees that clock in, I recommend it, because it is free to offer and it means a lot. So giving your employees the freedom to have some kind of flexibility in their workday, it really hits home. It's a home run. And again, it doesn't cost money to do it. I will tell you, we took flexibility to the next level when we introduced flexibility of dress. So we have what we call dress for your day now at PwC, and that includes jeans. So we just got rid of that whole concept of, sort of the uniform. And in all of our PwC offices, we're a jeans firm now. And so we've always been you got to dress like your client. And so when we're out at we wear suits clients, then we have to wear suits. But when we're in our offices, we wear jeans too. So that was a big home run with our staff as well. Because again, it's whatever kind of breath of fresh air you can bring to your staff, why not do it? Again, a freebie, and we could bring it and make our staff happy. And so we did it. And we've kind of brought that in under the flexibility umbrella as well. So just trying to, life is kind of hard enough. Work is kind of hard enough. Anything you can bring in that just breathes some air into the place, that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. And can you share a little bit from all of these efforts? Are you seeing, what's the lift looking like in terms of, before, after attrition or retention rates?
Yeah. So we've had some really good impact on our retention. And that's one of our, both our retention and our engagement scores on our annual survey. So for us, retention is a big deal. Turnover is very costly in a firm like ours. And we've had a big hit on our retention rate. So we're seeing actual very nice dollars flow straight to our bottom line, which makes me very happy.
Oh, excellent. Well, could you give us a rough sense of what kind of a proportion lift we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, yes. The sort of conventional wisdom is then when someone walks out the door, it costs the firm about $100,000. So every head that stays around is a savings to us, and that includes all kinds of things, training costs and replacement costs, and so when you can keep someone around, it saves a lot of money. And we have 50,000 people, so when you think about even saving 1% of your people, that's 50,000 people. That's a lot of money.
Oh, certainly. And roughly, what extra percentage of your people are you saving as a result of all this?
Well, my boss probably wouldn't want me quoting retention rates, but I will tell you that we've seen some really good savings on retention rates. So I better leave it at that.
Okay, then. Well, any final thoughts before we shift gears to hear about some of your favorite things?
No, I think we're afraid of change. We as leaders think that these kinds of changes are going to wreak havoc because we're going to see abuse in the system. And I guess my advice to leaders is that I think you'll see less abuse than you think you're going to see. So I would take the leap on something like flexibility because I think you'll see much more benefit than you'll see abuse. So I guess that's my big piece of advice.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Well, now, Anne or Karlo, whoever's feeling it in the moment, let's hear about some of your favorite things. Is there a favorite quote, something you find inspiring?
Karlo, I'll let you go first.
The quote I always say is, it's a Rolling Stones quote, "You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need."
Awesome.
Oh, I love that, Karlo. It's so much hipper than anything I was going to come up with. Mine's not a quote. I just try every single day to remember what I'm grateful for, because I think we can get caught up in how hard life is. And I really, before my feet hit the ground in the morning, I don't let myself get out of bed before I remember the things for which I am very, very grateful. And however small those things might be, that might be my wonderful soft pillow. But I have a lot to be grateful for. And I just really, really try to live in that gratitude.
Awesome. And how about a favorite study or experiment or a bit of research?
Oh my gosh, mine is the millennial study. And I'm happy that is a public report. And I'm happy, Pete, to make that available if anyone wants to take a look at it.
Oh, yes, please. We'd love to link to that. And how about a favorite book?
Mine is Maya Angelou, Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Mine is How to Be Black by Baratunde Thurston.
Oh, I met him at a book signing, and I have a signed copy of How to Be Black on my shelf. I did, yes.
Oh, you lucky duck.
He's good friends with my buddy Maui, who is episode number 1, Small World. And yeah, he's a funny guy. He deliberately said the opposite of what I asked him to say in the inscription. I said something like, "Can you say that I'm like tough or, a baller?" I don't remember what I asked for, but he said, "You are so not a baller."
I love it.
I guess I got to get rid of this book now. Very good.
I love it.
And how about a favorite tool, something that helps you be awesome at your job?
My phone. I can't live without it. My phone, which I look at every day for everything.
Mine is my new ergonomic mouse.
Oh, tell us all about it. What is it? Where can I buy it?
I got it off of Amazon without plugging too hard. It's an Anchor mouse, and it turns your wrist so it's like you're shaking a hand.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh, and it's cool.
Very cool.
My arms feel so much better now.
Oh, that's a good move. Yeah. Let's link that too. And tell us, is there a particular nugget that you find yourself saying often that really connects and resonates with people?
I have 3 staff, and they are all women. They all happen to be women. And I have 2 grown kids. I have 21-year-old twins. And every time my kids irritate me, I always type to these gals in text, #Don'tHaveKids.
Oh.
And these 3 women all have young babies at home. So that's our kind of our team motto, #Don'tHaveKids. So we laugh. We always laugh at each other. #Don'tHaveKids. So that's our motto, team motto. To all of us who have a bunch of kids.
Well, it's too late. I have a 5-month-old.
Oh my gosh, Pete! I'm going to put you on our Twitter, on our tweet.
Oh, I'm honored. Thank you.
#Don'tHaveKids. There you go.
I have one from my grandfather. He always says "Ayos lang," which is Tagalog. It's the Filipino language, and it just means it's going to be okay.
Ah, lovely.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Lovely.
And Karlo, Ann, if folks want to get in touch or learn more, where would you point them?
And I leave that to you.
Well, follow me on Twitter because I'm always tweeting about stuff that we're finding interesting. I'm going to send the study, Pete, so I'd like you to take a look at that. And, I just think keep plugging away on the flexibility stuff. And I guess that's it. I think you got to keep trying and ask for what you want, people. Ask for what you want in your workplace because you have to be happy at work.
Karlo, any final thoughts in terms of a challenge or call to action?
Challenge everyone to be more mindful of everything outside of work and outside of the things that stress you. You're a whole person. Treat yourself like a whole person.
Beautiful. Well, Karlo, Ann, this has been a whole lot of fun. Kudos for the good work that's producing good results for people and profits. So keep it up.
Yay. Thank you, Pete, for the opportunity.
Had a great time.
What I love most about this conversation is just the boldness and the pragmatism there associated with, hey, if you're burnt out, you're not doing great work, you might leave at the wrong time. It's best to ask for what you need. If you don't, you may well end up at the wrong time. And it's best for organizations to accommodate the needs of workers in this way. You know, it's funny. I've heard a couple stories from employees recently in which they had a life situation unfold. Maybe they needed to move or had a child or something, and they wanted to work remotely from time to time. And their manager was cool with it, and their manager's manager was cool with it. But then a higher up leader or executive was not so cool with it, and it put the kibosh on it. So I'm hopeful that with the work and data and surveys and results that Ann has discovered and implemented and other organizations are seeing, that hopefully folks will be able to have work experiences that suit them better and they do better work and people are enriched more. And it's win-win-win for everybody, the individual, the team, the organization, the customers, the clients. Everybody wins when it's done well. And it maybe just takes a little bit of courage to try something new or different in the organization. So if you're trying to make that case, check out the report linked in the show notes. That's awesomeatyourjob.com/EP309. And maybe that will be a little ammo in your belt for making the argument and a persuasive case to get some of the flexibility that you need. And if you haven't already, I do hope you'll push the subscribe button. If you do so, you'll hear from our next guest. It is Tony Schwartz. He wrote one of my favoritist books long ago called The Power of Full Engagement, and he is sharing how to manage your energy at work to produce outstanding results. Peace.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. To get the most out of this conversation, visit awesomeatyourjob.com to find today's show notes, transcript, and infographic summary cheat sheet. For more entertaining professional skill sharpening, be sure to subscribe to catch the next episode of How to Be Awesome at Your Job.
One, 2, 3, 4. Those are numbers, but you already knew that. If you want to know what number you're going to pay each month for your car, use Kelley Blue Book My Wallet on Auto Trader. They're really good at numbers. Auto Trader.